FTEM Unleashed from the Expert's Mouth. And today we have a very different sort of conversation lined up for you. We have a guest with us who's used to doing things differently and doing different things at the same time. You've heard about the fact that you can either have your cake or you can eat it. But here we have Anushka Jain, who with Share at Doorstep has showed us that you can have your cake and eat it too. How has she done that? And what is her story all about is something we are all ears to listen from her. So Anushka, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And I love the analogy you gave. Like it was really relatable.
Yes. So for the audience to be able to relate to the analogy, why don't you, Anushka, start by introducing yourself and giving a brief background about what all you have been up to, and then we can get into more details.
Sure. So I'm Anushka. I'm founder of Share at Doorstep. What we do typically is we are a tech platform using which people can donate anything reusable, clothes, toys, furniture, anything which you think is lying in your household and is not getting used and you want to donate that, we'll come to your doorstep and get it delivered to the NGOs which can use it. So that's the basic idea about us. On my background, I'm a techie. I'm a computer science engineer, but moved to marketing and sales. So I'm more of a salesperson or a marketing person, you can say now. And yeah, I think have been running company from last quite some time.
Okay, you're a techie who's gotten into sales and marketing, right?
Yes.
And the most common route to that is through an MBA. So
Yes.
Have you got any sort of MBA linkages to your background as well?
So it's a funny story because I did apply for ISB and I was about to join that. Somehow I was also looking for a marketing job that time. So I wanted to learn marketing for my company. We were struggling that time with the business revenue model of Share at Doorstep. And I knew it has to come through brands which are into course marketing. That's what our main focus was. For that, I had to learn marketing. So it was like how to learn marketing, and ISB looks like a very good option, like to learn marketing and come back. But meanwhile, fortunately, we were actually running a campaign with one of the brands, which was for one of the cakes, newly launched cake by the brand. And there were a few kids who won the prize, and whoever will donate their toys will get a chocolava cake. And there was last chocolava cake, which I was supposed to deliver to the kid. And I went there. I gave the cake to the kid and got the donations, all the toys in my bag, in my hand. And I was on the lift with the father of the daughter. And he asked me if he need any help. He went with the bags. And I said, yeah, I'm looking for a marketing job. Do you have one in your company? Because that was in my mind to get a marketing job.
Right.
He was like, oh, I went with the bag. But yeah, why not come to the building in Korbangla, the glass building? It was supposedly Excel Partners building where this company was incubated. And I joined them as the fifth employee, as the marketing manager, and learned all about marketing, sales, building a company from scratch, scaling a company. We grew from 5 to 125 people, having a huge, marketing team there. So I think that's how I learned about sales and marketing. But ISB could have been a good option as well. Just that with the loans and everything, I felt if I go for a marketing job and have hands-on, that'll give me more time and, more kind of a leverage in a way that I can later take my company full-time quickly without worrying about the finances.
Okay. So that's interesting. People usually prepare for elevator pitches and, stuff like that. But you had a simple one-line elevator pitch, right? And it was literally in the elevator when you asked somebody, do you have a job? I mean, it couldn't get simpler than that, right?
Yes, I never thought about it like that, but yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So I guess, whatever happens for a reason, and sometimes opportunities present themselves before us. All we've got to do is just reach out and seize those opportunities. Very often, there are things floating around in our head. What if the person says no, or, how will I look? How will the other person perceive me? There is your example. Just go ahead and ask for it. In the worst case, the person could have refused and said, no, I don't. But
yes. No, that's very interesting. I think to be when you go into the entrepreneurial journey, you kind of put your, self-esteem, ego, whatever we call, very, very low because, you have to ask so many questions. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Inhibitions,
Yeah,
as well as like the whole thing that, oh, should I ask this question? Like, will I get embarrassed after asking this question? That kind of thought process doesn't come because you get embarrassed so many times while pitching, while learning, that you just get used to getting embarrassed and be okay with that.
right. That's the one of the foundational lessons for entrepreneurship out
Yes.
of the many I'm sure that we'll uncover and you would have uncovered as part of your journey. So, talking about that, this opportunity essentially led you to the areas of sales and marketing. And prior to that, you were working as a techie, I would imagine,
Yes, yes. I was
being
an
a computer
Accenture.
science engineer.
Yes.
Right. So that was what a pure techie sort of role in software development and stuff, right?
Yes, yes. I was coding. We had telecom clients, UK clients, US clients. So yeah, it was all tech. I didn't enjoy it much, I would say, because I think I'm more of a chatterbox, as you would have seen so far. And I love connecting to people, working with them, figuring how we can help each other. I think that's something which I was missing there. Because
Hmm.
if you are into a desk job, like in a way that you're coding, you get to interact very, very less. At least the skill which I want to, it was not there. So yeah, I think, and working in a startup, even if you're working as a techie or whatever, gives you the chance to talk to more people. Be bring out your inside characteristics, or I would say the personality out, and like talk to people about what you want to do, because opportunities are unlimited. There's no verticals been defined. There's nothing been defined that you have to do it XYZ way. So you bring out the best of yourself when you work in a startup, even if it's for a small duration.
That's a very interesting perspective, and I'm sure a lot of people, especially techies, who are very good at their jobs technically, whether it is in coding or software development or developing mathematical models, doing AI, ML, whatever it may be, they may be very good at it. But at certain point in their career, they face that glass ceiling when they are stuck, and they find it difficult to move beyond that individual contributor role. So either they have to pick up managerial responsibilities, or
Yes.
as you move up, at a more senior level, what is primarily expected out of managerial positions is that you're able to grow the business, for which obviously you need, sales and marketing kind of skill sets.
Yes.
And that is when they get into a rough patch, and because that's completely out of comfort zone of a lot of techies. I wouldn't say
Yes.
all, but at the risk of generalization, it's a pattern that you see becoming prominent, and a lot of people face that. Luckily for you, you didn't face that challenge because you identified that your natural inclination is towards marketing, and all you needed was an opportunity, right?
Yeah, no, makes sense. And also, I think in Accenture, I was just a fresher, so it might be very, very different on what techies face in like future. So the
Yeah.
techie who, like the tech team which we have in our company, they take part in every aspect of the company rather than just like coding. So I think in Accenture, my experience was only because I was very, very new to the company. It was just the coding part of it.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Of course, it all depends on the situation. But, carrying forward your journey from, that elevator where you got the job in that startup, which was incubated in Axel Partners office, right?
Yes.
So that was a marketing job that you did for a few years. And from there, how did you get into entrepreneurship, and, what was the idea, and how was Share at Doorstep born?
Sure. So I had the website of Share Doorstep before I joined Joy, which is the company we mentioned. And I was working when I was working in Accenture. I put up a small website. They had a CSR department, so that really helped me to get the initial connections on NGOs. And I think I had a lot of mentors, which I kind of got in touch with through the competitions I was taking part in. So there were a lot of people who were helping around in the whole journey. Bangalore is a huge, huge, help on the way that it has a huge ecosystem of entrepreneurs. So you can reach out to almost anybody in any kind of field you want to check, and there'll be someone or the other helping you out with something. It might be just a 10 minutes advice, but it will save you a lot of money and time. So I think that's the additional advantage I had. Coming to a question, which was how I kind of went through the journey, right? I think when I was in Cures Joy, I started working on more aspects of how to say add these segments of sales and marketing. So we reached out to a few brands. So on the model which I explained, when you schedule a pickup and donate something based on the carbon emissions reduced, you get points which can be redeemed for different goodies and vouchers. And that's how the brands come into picture. So the idea was to have and validate this model if the brands will be, able to cover the costs which we incur. And that's what I was figuring out. And we got some good clients on board and did some campaigns. Once I had enough revenue to take it full time, that's when I decided to take it full time. It was important throughout the journey that whatever I'm learning at Killjoy is been applied to share a doorstep. And the founders already knew that I'm running this company alongside with Killjoy. So that was helpful. I joined ISB's accelerator program later. So that was kind of I got the idea on what I have missed by not joining ISB. And
Right.
the parts which I really want to learn on entrepreneurship, that kind of, fit in the puzzle which I was missing out. So I think small aspects of the scaling a company into the, having an accelerator program in ISB to having mentors who were always pushing me into the right direction. I think all of that helped me to finally take Share a Doorstep full time and take a plunge.
There were quite a few things which kind of came back full circle. So instead of joining ISB for an MBA as you were planning to do earlier, you got into ISB in a totally different capacity.
Yes.
As an incubatee, I would imagine.
Yes.
And that really helped. I mean, it probably gave you more specific and pointed inputs on your business model than what a generic MBA would have given you.
Yes, definitely. I think it was a 6 months program, and what helps you is you learn something and apply alongside on your company. So it happens parallelly. Otherwise, you
Right.
generally do the MBA and then afterwards apply the concepts. So that
Right.
was really, really helpful because I learned something and I'll apply it and see the results. So it was really exciting. It was instant gratification.
Right. Unlike a lot of other companies and startups, which essentially go into incubation stage pretty much right after formation, in your case, there was quite a bit of a time lag because you'd continued that on the sides and you were kind of figuring out the commercial model, because this was quite a unique value proposition, because you're combining what is traditionally a NGO or a social sector, which is typically a non-profit or not-for-profit kind of organization. So
Right.
you were trying to build that sort of an organization with a purpose and trying to have a commercial model also alongside it. So I'm sure that would have been difficult, and that is probably what took you a few years to crack, I would imagine.
Yes, that was definitely one of the main points on how to actually sort out the whole business model before really going all in. So it started with the idea that I want to make it easy for people to donate. My mom used to donate clothes on my birthday every year, and I figured that she's just doing once a year, and we should do it more often. So that was the idea. When I searched more on this, I realized that because of lack of resources on the NGO side, it's difficult for them to reach out to a lot of people to raise funds, or help out. And it just becomes difficult for them to reach out with the requirements. When it comes to people, I'll not say that my mom was lazy, but she is really busy. And for her to figure out the NGO where it should go, what should go where, and do all the research, it's a lot of time for her. So she was just going to a single NGO because of the same reason. And that is what everyone is facing. They have a lot of stuff stocked in their households, but they don't know what to give, where to give, how to give. And that was the problem we were solving for the NGOs and people. And that's why Share a Doorstep existed. But it started with a basic, it was never the plan to make it a huge company. I started this thinking that I'll take part in business plan competitions and earn some money to go and be able to pay on my dates. Even if I pay or not, but that's a different question. But be able to, right? So it started with that. But Share a Doorstep was winning a lot of competitions. And I realized that this is something major which we can really, start. And that's why my focus was always to look for the next step and not think about how it looks like 5 years from now, because that was difficult to imagine at that point of time. But eventually, taking one step at a time, it kind of became clear how it'll look like in future.
So when you started it off, it was essentially triggered by day-to-day events around you. So you saw your mom donating, and then you kind of thought, okay, this is a problem which has not really been solved at scale, because
Right.
NGOs kind of work in their own little pockets, and they don't have the resources nor the vision to kind of create a scalable organization which caters to solving this problem on a pan-India basis across, all kinds of product categories or all kinds of geographies or whatever. So
Right. So even if they have the vision, or like a lot of bigger NGOs like have a huge scale. But thing
yeah,
is, they have so many KPIs on the beneficiary side to take care of it, that to take care of the customer acquisition cost, no, reach out with a lot of donors together on social media and all. It's extra KPI for them. And what's important for them is to like take care of the beneficiaries first. And that's why raising funds on the goods donation side is not on very very high priority. It's generally on the monetary side, which generally they take part of because of the KPIs they have.
okay,
But I felt that we have a lot of stuff, and everybody can start their giving journey by just giving a small pair of shoe. So it was not just to like, oh, let's get rid of the items we have in the household, but it is also to start the journey of sustainability or giving in each person's life easily, because once you give it, it's like addictive. You want to like do more and more for the society, more for the environment, and that's how you grow as a person as well.
yeah, absolutely. And there is absolutely no other way. I think the mindless way in which we have expanded and adopted unsustainable things, whether it is plastic or anything else, there is no future for the planet if we just continue this way. So
Right.
whatever is in circulation, at least we don't add more sins to the goods that we consume or
Yes.
use. The least we can do is at least pass it on. I think
Right.
that applies to a lot of things. And then there, of course, there are books and other such things which may be of zero value to somebody who's gone through that academic year or is not reading
Yeah.
the book, and is invaluable for so many people who are yearning for knowledge or education or just access to resources.
No, that's very, very true actually. Yeah. So the way the items are matched, like we have an algorithm for that, which matches donations with the requirements of the NGOs in real time.
Mhm.
And the things how they are matched and like go and make an impact, it's unimaginable. You will not, because it'll be a small washing machine, like a semi-automatic washing machine, which you'll think how will it be used or where it'll be used. And one of the stories was that it went to a grandma who was taking care of the grandkids herself and was washing their uniform on daily basis by herself. And having a semi-automatic washing machine is like such a relief for her, you know.
Right,
So it's how much impact can a thing which you didn't think will make so much impact can make, you know. So
right.
that's what amazes me each time, and how tech can be used to solve this problem.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, various matching algorithms which techies use on a day-to-day basis. Essentially, you've used those algorithms in the social sector to match what is being donated versus somebody else's need,
Yes, yes.
right? So, as they say, one man's dust is another man's gold. I mean, your algorithm actually converts that dust
Yeah.
and matches it to gold of somebody. You can use
That's
that for
very
your
true.
marketing tagline.
Yeah, I'm going to use that. I just don't want to call it dust because I think it's much more than that.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
know people are calling it, like, people are treating it like dust. Like, as per the OLX report, which they have done a few years back,
Mhm.
people have 9,000 to 20,000 worth of stuff lying in each household. And the figures go to like $750 to $3,500 globally. So that's what we're stocking in our houses. And that
Right.
has there's a lot of effort which has gone into making those resources and items, right? So I think utilization of that will give us huge opportunity to like not miss out on this stuff.
Right. There is definitely the need of the planet and of everybody inhabiting the planet to reuse, recycle, to make our living more sustainable. And at an more individual level, also there is this issue of decluttering, because we keep accumulating stuff over months and years, and it just keeps adding up. Especially
Yeah.
living in urban conglomerates, whether it is Mumbai or Bangalore or Delhi, whatever it may be. Ultimately, we run out of space, and we need to find a fix to that. So I think shared doorstep also solves that problem to some extent.
Yes, yes, that's a very good point actually. So if you see our Instagram channel, there'll be a lot of memes. So we have a meme conversation. It's like more of fun conversation on how we tell people you should declutter and donate. And we have a lot of memes around decluttering, how we kind of do impulsive shopping and get
Right.
into these, So it's not wrong to be there. It's just, are you willing to become better? And
Right.
it can be just one step better. So I just feel that the fear and guilt and like comparing and making you feel bad about something never helps in changing behaviors. What helps
Right.
is the small nudges and like a motivation that, oh, a lot of people are doing it. You're not alone, but you can be better. And so can everybody else be. So
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Nudge theory is in fashion, especially after getting a Nobel Prize. So you've put that to use as well.
yeah, I would say that.
Okay, so that's great. So it's a combination of the techie side of you plus the marketing side plus the behavioral economics aspect of how do you go
Yes.
about changing behaviors. So let's speak about the economic aspects and the commercial aspects a little bit, because we've alluded to it in our conversation earlier, that this is not a model which is the operational model is typically not something which is easily possible to commercialize, right? And you've spoken a little bit earlier about how you had this organization in place for a while, but it took a bit of time to get the commercial model going. So
Right.
can you explain that a little bit for the benefit of our viewers, and how you went about thinking about the
Sure.
commercial model? Because to a layman, what it would appear is, okay, if you're taking a donation from somebody, whether it's in the form of the washing machine that you just mentioned, who essentially bears the cost of that, the logistics of moving the washing machine or clothes
Right.
or toys or books from the person who's donating from their house to the place where it is intended to reach. And is there warehousing in the middle? Does it add to another layer of cost? So how does that whole commercial side of things
Sure.
work?
Sure. So I think that's something which took me a long time to figure out this question. And we started. So in the starting, when we like launched, we were not thinking about money at all. I had like some savings, and I was like, let's use these savings to something good. And we are having a model, volunteer-based model, in which initially 150, 200 pickups I did, and then we got involved students from different colleges in Bangalore who were doing the pickups. So we handled close to 10,000 pickups through volunteer model only. But obviously, volunteer model is something which is not scalable because sometimes the students are not available. You can't guarantee a good customer service. In that case, you can't have a slot-based booking. All this. So I knew that we have to move from there, and that's where the money part came into picture. That was a time when coupons were like coupon market was like really really in, and I thought let's have brands coupon listed on our platform and like get brands to pay for the pickups. That worked a little for a little while, but it becomes a problem if the donations are much more, the unit economics is not matching, like what we are getting is not like matching with that. And that's when I was stuck. And one of my mentors said that, okay, why don't you charge people for the pickup, because it's a convenience for them that they are getting things delivered. I was like, yeah, but why would people pay? They're already donating. And
Right.
that is like a middle class mentality. That's how you feel, right? But when you see it as a function of time, that you're saving time by not doing the research, not going to the NGO, that actually is something which I'll be willing to pay for. And that's how the convenience comes into picture. We do have an option on the website to have a free drop off as well. So people who don't want to like pay for the pickup, they can go and drop off as well. So that was always there. But the idea was, can people pay for it? And we tested this with a pilot. We ran it for like 2 months time, where we had a nominal fee and a free pickup, both of them. But a nominal fee said that it'll be better service, slot based, etc. And 70% of the people chose the paid one. So
Okay.
it was a much bigger, if this works, then this will work for sure kind of a model. That if people are willing to pay a convenience for a better service, then people will be willing to pay a convenience for a service as well. So that was the idea. And this was in Bangalore. So I knew that Bangalore is our market, and people are used to like paying for Swiggy's of the world a delivery fee, and they know how convenience is important, like Make My Trip and all. We can always like go to the websites of the individual airlines, but we still plan to book some Make My Trip and pay extra fee. for convenience, right? So that's how people saw this model, and which was to my surprise as well. Like the customers taught me how to do it.
Right.
And then when we were sure how to do it, then we kind of went ahead and thought that, okay, let's charge people for the pickup and cover our operations fee from there. The brands part we kind of put on a backseat for a little while because we want to scale, and profits were not and still are not our focus right now. The idea was to scale as much as we can while being bootstrapped and cover the cost, at least what we are incurring, so not go in losses, but not actually think about profit, but think about the impact and the people first and how much scale we can reach to this. Once I think we have the scale, we can figure out the revenue models and, working on a higher scale with brands. We do work with a lot of brands and corporates as well on employee engagement programs or on the cause marketing side. But our focus right now is to scale as quickly as possible, as much as possible. So right now we're in 11 cities, 2,000 more cities we have pickup via courier. So what we plan to do is increase this 11 cities to many more, which has similar demographics. And we have plans to expanding in Singapore in coming months. So let's see how that goes.
Okay, wow, yeah, that's quite a journey. And you mentioned in the beginning that the initial pickups is something that you did yourself. So you
Yes.
literally, every time you got a request for picking up stuff, you would go there yourself in Bangalore, I would imagine.
Yes. I was in Accenture and I was in like UK shift. So my time used to start from 11 o'clock. 8 to 11 was my pickup time. So I
Right.
used to schedule them together. And a couple of people actually raised a request multiple times thinking that I'm coming. Like it's like a friendly conversation which happened.
Right.
That, oh, she comes, okay, let's have more collections and she can take more stuff. It was because
Okay.
she's trying to do something good.
Right.
But it
So
was
it became like a social event for people.
Yes, for people, yeah. And I interacted with people because it was a time for me when I can interact with them, see why they're donating, the reasons behind why they're donating. There are
Right.
multiple reasons why people donate. It's not always that they want to do good. Obviously, that's one of the basic idea, but it's also because they are changing houses and they want, it's a need of the hour to like right now get rid of the items, and rather than throwing it away, why not donate? So a lot of times it's out of very, very urgent need that you have to donate. You are having surplus stock for a brand, right? Or you have like kids who have grown up and now they have all the toys lying around. So it's kind of, and you're moving or you're changing interiors, or so there are a lot of use cases around
Right.
it when people donate. And that all I learned through this, which helped me to actually further clusterize our whole like make different clusters of the TG and like target them in a different way organically. So that was
Right.
really, really useful and insightful.
Yeah, okay. So, hustling through the initial period help you not just take care of the operations, keep the cost to a, bare minimum or near zero, but it also helped you gain insights which kind of help you fine tune and make
Yes.
better targeting. So that's interesting how you went from, hustling yourself to, working through a group of volunteers and then of course scaling it up in different ways. I think the other thing that you mentioned also during this journey is about how you've taken care of covering the costs. So if you take an analogy of say a comparable startup which had a pure commercial model, what they would have typically done in order to scale up is taken some funding and use those funds to scale up and not bother so much about the unit economies, which is not so much in fashion, and kind of just look at scaling as the only metric, whatever
Right.
it is, whether it is your impact, whether it is your gross merchandise value, whatever it may be, right? But you've taken a slightly different approach, although you want the impact to be higher, but you don't want it at any cost because there is no free lunch and there is nobody funding it right now to expand to 11 cities or to Singapore or whatever. So are you still bootstrapped, or
Yes.
how do you view funding as a channel to kind of increase your impact suddenly and exponentially?
Sure. So I think funding never crossed my mind because when I started that time, funding was not like a very, very big buzzword. Also, I was not very, very clear about the future, how it looks like. And selling something to them that it'll look like this and it might not look like this in future because I pivoted. might not be fair to any of us, like either me or the VCs. So the idea was to kind of figure out first and then reach out for funding. I did meet a lot of investors, but I think rather than looking for funds, I was taking their feedback to understand what their analogy is, how they kind of, scale a company and how I want to do it. I was very, very sure that I don't want to just do it how it is being done. I want to question everything which is like put in front of me and see if I want to do it this way or the other way. I took entrepreneurship not because, I want to like exit quickly or like make quick money, but because I want to solve a problem. So I was very, very sure that so the question that you asked, that social and commercialization, how do you balance? I think when I think about it, I have different, kind of a people sitting in a room or having different fictional characters in my head. That if I do this, what will a customer say? What will a stakeholder say? What will a NGO say about it? Or having all these and see what works for me and whom I want to give preference to, which will not be the same if you get someone on board and your visions actually have to match a lot. So far we have not raised because we are profitable and we didn't want to raise as far as we can like go bootstrap. But in future we might. But it'll be only when we'll find someone who's really into the vision of sustainability. We have many like much bigger plans for Share a Doorstep, which are coming in future. And we want someone who is really, really into the same vision and buy into the vision, rather than, only the unit economics or commercials or whatever we are looking right now, like a bigger picture of it. And I have not reached out to many people, even though I have met a lot of investors as a feedback point of view, not met a lot of them for asking for funds, because firstly, I'm a sole founder. So it's difficult for me to like run a business and reach out to investors because it's a full-time job. Secondly, I feel like it's almost like I like inbound sales more than outbound, so I feel that we are out there. We are quite popular on social media and everywhere. So if someone has to really like us, they can reach out to us as well. It's not out of, ego or self-esteem. It's about if someone really, really wants to be part of this, they'll find us and be able to do it. So that's the whole idea about it. We might reach out in future. That might not change if we are running out of funds. But as far as we can run, and we'll hope that some good investor sees us and matches our vision, and like it happens organically rather than like being very pushy about it.
Right. Yeah. And, just to put things in perspective, from the point of view of our audience, it is not very often that companies or organizations that are operating in the social sector, so to speak, are able to run in a bootstrapped manner. I mean, pretty much all the NGOs, etc., are essentially having a source or channel of funds.
Right.
And if you take the other side of it, there aren't too many startups. Of course, there are quite a few, but as a proportion, not a very large percentage of the startups which are essentially running only on bootstrap model. Most of them are essentially looking at funds beyond a certain level. And I think you've been in existence for 6 years at least now?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think if you've sustained for 6 years, then, definitely there are lessons to be learned, and you've shared quite a few during this conversation in terms of, how one should think about the business, whether it is for, social good or whether it is for a pure commercial objective. The underlying factor of, having identified a problem, are you willing to stick to it? And are you willing to solve the problem? Are you willing to, in the initial days, hustle yourself because you are so interested yourself as a founder in solving the problem? I think those are the kind of things which help put the right building blocks in place to build a sustainable organization. And sustainable year being, of course, pun on both the sustainable planet as well as the sustainable commercial model, right? So
that's very true. Yeah.
Yeah. And
I think we didn't choose it that way. I think given a chance that I had a bandwidth to go and meet investors and do all that, I might have done that. But I think it just looked like a next step to do to like scale and focus on scaling, then like reaching out to investors. I'm sure that if we would have reached out, or if we will reach out, we'll scale much quickly. But that's what kind of you balance and like take a decision for your own mental peace and like be able to do whatever with it as time comes,
Right.
unfold, let it unfold itself, then you unfolding it forcefully into something.
Right. Yeah, and that becomes very difficult when you have multiple stakeholders, whether it is
Yes.
multiple co-founders or multiple investors, aligning everybody's thought process becomes very difficult because, as you said, the business model could easily, pivot into another direction, and it may not be fair to one of the stakeholders, and that
Yes.
typically happens, right?
Yes, yes. So I do have a core team member who was with me in Killjoy. He handles all the tech. But we are like on same page on, when we work together like on the sustainability side, how you see the vision. And that really helps. But that's why it's difficult to find someone who's at the same level as well and thinking about it the same way.
Right.
So that's like it's like more difficult than finding a partner, I think.
Yeah, that's true. It takes a lot, and I guess you only figure out whether it's working or not working after a period of time. Because when you're making pitches in PowerPoint presentations, in boardroom conversations, things happen very differently as compared to what happens when there are trade-offs and decisions need to be taken on the ground. So yeah, we've spoken a lot about different parts of your journey, but now you're at a completely different level. You present in 11 cities, planning to expand internationally. So, what is the difference in the kind of challenges you faced in the earlier stages or the mid stages, as compared to the challenges that you're facing as a organization right now?
So I think initially, obviously, it was all about figuring out stuff. I was not clear about the vision, how I want to see it. I think now the vision is quite clear, what we want to do with it. It's just like how quickly we want to do it. That's like a thing which we have to figure out and which part to take. So we have multiple parts to take and we have to choose one. And we keep on going through debates on, okay, this is better, that is better. But that's a good place to be when you are very clear about where you want to go for sure. Earlier, I was not very sure, like, for example, logistics when we were figuring out, right? So I was trying to do everything myself. We started with volunteering model. Then we had our own logistics company inside, like in-house.
Okay.
We had like 50, 60 people working with us for logistics. Even though we were using partners to get the price, but we were still handling it myself. And it was difficult for me to handle, logistics, firstly, because of language barrier. Secondly, many more things which how you interact with people who are into the operations side. So I think that was a little difficult for me as a woman as well, to like interact with them in a way they understand. But I think post that it was for good or for bad. Like my mentor asked me, okay, you have learned how to scale the business, how to learn logistics. Now you need to scale with tech. So we kind of changed the whole model and partnered with a lot of logistics companies and did API integrations, and it became a tech company suddenly. So the whole process was like very, very, it's a whole learning journey for me. But if we would have not done a logistics company, I would have not known what goes inside it. So that was
Right.
important. But the whole journey will tell you, okay, this is like a small, small pivots happening. But now that didn't happen. Now we exactly know what we have to do. So there is no pivot happening. It's just the next step which we take towards the vision.
Right.
Might be a different kind of step, but it's towards the same place.
Right. Yeah, and I guess it's a choice or a trade-off between expanding quicker and faster just by directly moving to the to tech and integrating APIs versus doing something hands-on internally and getting to know the nuts and bolts of it, how it impacts your business model, how it impacts the customer experience, how it impacts the economies, and that way if you've gone through that learning curve, the future becomes much more certain and robust and scalable. Because if you don't have that know-how, it becomes very difficult to navigate and work with
Right.
external service providers. And especially when external service providers are nothing more than APIs, then it becomes even more challenging, right?
Yes, yes, definitely. I think to know about how the things work on ground is very, very important. So there's a
Yeah,
good learning curve for sure, but operations is like so difficult to handle.
yeah,
It requires so much of field work. I think I'm not the right person for it, but kudos to people who are doing it so well. All the companies or logistics partner who are doing it so well. It's like really, really difficult business to crack.
right. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, the industry has made it more difficult for themselves with these, 10-minute deliveries. And
Oh yeah,
yeah, so that is even more crazy, as if, it wasn't crazy enough.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So I kind of picked up a few threads from our conversation. The first one was, when you mentioned that you entered some business plan competition so that you could earn money to pay for your dates. And recently you just mentioned that, being a woman in logistics, operation, supply chain, it wasn't easy. As a woman entrepreneur, what do you have to say to other women entrepreneurs who are kind of in a similar boat, or trying to set up their own businesses? uh, any sort of specific advice you have for them, or any set of experiences, or belief systems or mindsets that has helped you in this journey? I think that will be very valuable.
Right. So I think few of the points which I mentioned that, as a woman it was difficult. Like we were doing a campaign, just to give you an example, right? And the warehouse one was in like outskirts of Whitefield, and I was there at 11 o'clock in the night because we had a campaign launched the next day. It was like, even though it's safe, but in your head you don't feel safe to be there, right? So even though I know people that okay, these are the people who is by these company, but you're always very scared if you're in the night in the outskirts. So I think those things were kind of affecting me, like giving me more stress. So it was very stressful. Also interacting with people who are on not on the like same page with you. Like a lot of people have asked me, okay, who's your boss? Because they just assume that I'm not the in charge person here, or they ask me how much do you get paid like to do all this work, because I was with them in the rights, like the truck rights which we are doing in the starting, to understand how they are managing, right? So
Right.
there's a driver and I'm sitting here in the truck, and they're like, how much do you get paid for this? Like, so
Right.
to be doing this work. And
Right.
I was just like, they might have not asked this with a guy, right? That why you're doing this
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So I just felt that it's easier, or maybe it's not the wrong intention of this person asking me. I think they're not used to seeing this,
Right.
of
Yeah.
having women in the operations and like really in field. Same for the warehousing. When I went to the warehouse, it was awkward for me, but it was equally awkward for them as well, because they're like, oh, we are not used to having a woman around this time, and like she's doing all this work which we are doing, packaging and
Right.
like doing all this. So it is
Yeah.
that way a little awkward, and also you question if I'm safe or not. For all the women, as you asked, who are doing this and who are getting into this, I think the thing which I did later was to hire people who can be your reps, who can be your voice in front of, if you can't be available at few places, the best way to kind of do it is like to delegate and not try to do everything, and not be going like becoming like really, really brave to like go around walking around in the night, in the secluded streets. You can do better, and like delegate the stuff to someone who can do it. Not try to save money on that part, because there are few things which someone else can do better, and you can save time on that. So I think that was a lesson I learned later. But I think it was still exciting to go through that phase, and to understand how how the things you can't do are there as well, and then you can delegate and learn how to like not do everything by yourself.
Right. Yeah, I guess it's, more a question of what are the stereotypes or the biases that we inherently carry,
Yes.
towards women in society, and that is reflected everywhere. And I think the converse is also true. The biases about, or stereotypes about what men should be doing and shouldn't be doing are also there. But of course, that is a problem which much fewer number of people run into, as compared to, women who are
Yes.
kind of right now breaking the stereotypes and conventions of what historically has been observed, at least in the country.
Yes, but a lot has changed lately. Like in the last few years, you'll see more people like women in logistics as well. Logistics company I work with as well. They're like very, they have like a good ratio of men and women. So
Mhm.
that's changing for sure. But when I started
Right.
that time, it was like not the same case.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the same is true to a large extent also about tech and women in tech,
Yes.
because until some time back there weren't too many women in tech. even right now, when you look at the gender ratio in engineering colleges, despite, the whatever the reservations or the leeway given to women or to encourage women to take up tech courses, the gender ratio is still abysmal.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But that might be also because there are so many streams right now, to choose from. Earlier, it was just a few which you can choose. So I think right now there are so many options for everyone to like take part, and so that might be a reason why we have less or more. But yeah, obviously more women in tech always like it helps, and I think there are a lot of initiatives as well, organizations which are like
Yeah.
making amazing strides on this front.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I guess, it's a long journey. There are no shortcuts, and one has to navigate their own path in terms of, how experimental one wants to be, and how much
Yes.
of, what suits you best. I think that's essentially what it boils down to, right?
No, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And, speaking about entrepreneurship, because that's been the theme of our discussion, one of the most awaited segments of Unleash with FTM is essentially, the advice that you give to budding entrepreneurs. So, from your side, your 2 cents to uh, people at the startup stage, at the initial stages of their journey, what is it that they should focus on? What are the one or two mantras that you think most are most important at that stage? I think that will really help people.
Sure. I think for me, I think the best thing which has helped, because there are a lot of things which I can like say right now, but I think one is like make use of the ecosystem of startups. In
Hmm.
Bangalore, it's like one of the best ecosystems. I have not explored others, so there might be others having similar, kind of ecosystem. But in Bangalore, it's you can reach out to almost anybody into any field and like get so much of knowledge in like an hour discussion that you'll not be able to get in like months of research. So save time on that, reach out to people, be humble, be curious, be kind of a person who's exploring, all the time, and be active on LinkedIn, I would say, because
Right.
people have so much, they're writing stuff, there's so much knowledge out there. So that you can consume from there as well as have further discussion with them to see if you can like go much beyond what's there on LinkedIn as well. Because there are many more stories which the founders will tell you while you have a chat with them. So you'll feel that you're not alone. Because a lot of times you get overwhelmed by LinkedIn that, oh, this person was able to do it so quickly. But
Right.
what you have to do is have your own journey and like do small bits and pieces, reach out to people, learn small things, and like put them together yourself, because that's what you'll be doing yourself, only no one else will do it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, yeah, on the last part that you mentioned, there are especially, with the social media and with the fear of missing out, whether
Yes.
it's, LinkedIn or Instagram, and what erstwhile, Facebook was the platform that people used. Uh, Essentially, it's people are trying to create make believe versions of their lives, whether it is their personal lives on, Facebook, or professional lives on LinkedIn. So yeah, if I were to add, one bit from our side is focus on what is authentic, what is real, gain value from experiences of other people, if you have to interact with them, rather than getting into that whole fear of missing out cycle,
Yes.
because others are, super achievers on LinkedIn, and every organization just seems to be perfect on LinkedIn, and,
No,
stuff.
definitely. I
And
think, and it also hides the struggle sometimes. Like, I feel
yeah,
guilty a lot of times when I'm sharing some award or something, and I don't share the story behind it, So there'll be a
right,
pitch which I won, and I was like, oh, I won this pitch, and I was so happy. But then, did I mention that I was, on my periods that time, and I'm having a whole, bad cramps that time? So I don't mention that, right? But I should be kind of mentioning that, because
yeah,
people have to know the whole story. But I don't, and I just tell, oh, I won this award. A person who's seeing it will be like, oh, it is so easy, or like it is so, XYZ for this person. So I
right,
think whole stories are not there, and just understanding that they are not there is enough. Uh,
right.
and like just taking the good parts of it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, that's why, you've also spoken about mentors a few times during the conversation. And, essentially, what you get from them is, their experience. And you know that if you have to take, the next 10 steps in your journey, at least there is somebody who's got the experience of either having done that himself or herself, or has interacted with, tens or hundreds of other people who have been through that journey. So
Right.
if you're able to distill that experience and make use of it, whether it's through, the benefit of, say, a wonderful startup ecosystem like that you have in Bangalore, or, whether it is through episodes of Unleash with FTM, the way you are sharing your experience with people right now,
Right.
whichever manner you are able to get through, I think it's important that, whenever we are interacting with people, whenever we are networking with people, we really have these things at the center, of our focus, as to, what is the purpose, rather than making the purpose very transactional, which a lot of people do. Okay, I want to speak to this person because I want this deal, or I want to sell this, or,
Right.
I want to get a connection to somebody. I think the most underrated aspect of networking is getting immense benefits from the insights and experiences of others. And they may not be, super seniors or super achievers, or CEOs of large companies.
Right.
They could just be anybody, as I'm sure you found out in your initial days at Share at Doorstep, while picking up deliveries and speaking to people.
Yes, yes, definitely. I think that's a very good point. You will find the most amazing insights from people you'll not imagine you'll be able to get, and vice versa. You'll imagine I'll get from this person and not be able to get. But
Yeah,
when trying out and meeting more people, being curious, I think that really helps. And also the whole driven thing from insights, which tells you that okay, I have to do this. Let's meet 10 people and figure this out. So that really
right.
helps.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Speaking of, those people who are, the kinds from whom you've picked up deliveries, the Donis. Any word for them? There are lots of us who are, sitting on piles of stuff that could be very well used by others. They're much better served in the hands of other people in society. So, any nudge that you want to kind of give, or any message you want to give to them?
Sure. I think firstly, I'll say try our platform and you'll see the impact which your donations can make. Just to give you an idea, when you'll see the donation, so we tell you which NGO it has gone to, so you know where it went, right? Just to give you an idea, when you give away a T-shirt, which is like has close to 5 kg of carbon emissions in the whole process, you can reduce up to 27% of that by donating it and like getting it reused for its whole cycle. Otherwise, you'll use it for 6 months or 8 months, but you can use it for 3 years or 5 years and have the whole effort which has gone into this T-shirt being used. And also, you'll see all the smiles on people's face when you do it. So it's much more than just I donated something, and like it's just the whole experience which you'll see when you donate. And it's very selfish in a way that you will feel much better about yourself as well. It's not just that you're helping someone, it's about you will feel good about it. So I would say try and like see how it feels,
Right.
and you'll get addicted.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, share at doorstep could also be, smile at doorstep, because it's giving you that joy, and it's also giving a smile at somebody else's doorstep where your goods are reaching.
Definitely, that's a very
Yeah.
good point. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I do hope that people take up the message, and as a society, we kind of focus more on sustainability, on sharing, and sharing joy, not just to give joy to the others, but also to become happier from inside. And it's well proven that the joy of giving is unparalleled. And I think if we kind of sit back and think about the times when we were truly happy, or when we felt that joy inside, 9 times or maybe 7 times out of 10, it would be in cases not when we achieved something, but when we actually gave something to others. And
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. I ask this question from a lot of mentors, like why
Mhm.
you are doing this, you're doing XYZ, why you're meeting a person who hardly have figured out a business model. And that's what the answer they gave us, that it's the happiness you get when you see someone grow in their journey, when we have given a small nudge, that's amazing. And people have helped me in the ecosystem. So this is my time to give back. And this one feels much better, when you kind of help people than when you have received it. So
Right.
definitely a very strong point.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, you can also right now feel good about the fact that you've shared your experiences, and I'm sure it will help a lot of people out there, whether they are, ordinary people in society just looking at, donating or giving away stuff, or whether it is entrepreneurs or women entrepreneurs or techies who want to make the cut and move into marketing and entrepreneurship and managerial roles. I mean, we've covered a whole array of
Yes.
things, and I'm sure it will benefit a wide section of stakeholders in the society. So thank you for that, and do feel good about that, and bring more smiles at doorstep and keep sharing at doorstep. And we've spoken a lot about this, but you will find the links to Anushka's organization, Share at Doorstep, in the description below, and you'll also find it in the pinned comment below. We'll also be putting up a post on our website, which will kind of summarize or have the few key pointers of our conversation in a post that you will find on our website from theexpertsmouth.com, and the link will also be down below. And as people tend to say on YouTube, do like, share, subscribe, leave your comments, and do share your thoughts about and your experiences about your sharing journey, your donating journey, and how that made you feel. And with that, Anushka, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Rajiv. It was such a pleasure. I had so much fun, and I'm sure it is like fun for you as well. And I hope
Yeah,
it is insightful for people who are watching it.
yeah, I'm sure it will be. With that, stay tuned for the next episode of Unleash with FTM. Thank you.